Hey guys, it's Tori, and today I'm going to be doing the Shakespeare Journey Tag. I was not tagged in this by anyone, I just decided to do it, but the original tag was made for this Shaktember, which I've never actually participated in Shaktember. I really want to. I think just with it being right before Victober, I have a harder time wanting to do a readathon in September because I'm like, well, in Victober, for October, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into a readathon, and so it's hard to get myself to do it for much before that because anyway. But this tag was created by the hosts of Shaktember this year, that being Books I'm Not Reading, A Day of Small Things, and Old Blues Chapter and Verse. So I've really loved what they've done. I'll link down below their different versions of this tag so you can go watch those. But let's just get right into this, starting with the first question, which is, what was your first experience with Shakespeare and what was it like? And my very first experience with Shakespeare that I can remember was Romeo and Juliet. I had heard of Shakespeare before that, so it wasn't like I had never heard of him and it was my first time, but my first time really experiencing one of the stories, one of the plays, was in 9th grade when we read Romeo and Juliet, and I did enjoy it. I didn't have anything against it, but it's not like it really impacted me. No, that's a lie. I actually, in 5th grade, was introduced to Romeo and Juliet because we did a little mini kind of junior performance of it, and I was Juliet. Yes, my claim to fame. But yeah, that was my earliest experience with it, but it wasn't like the actual play by any means. It was definitely like a elementary school version of it. I mean, it still had the same plot line and stuff, but as far as the language and stuff, it wasn't the same. Then I read it, like I said, in 9th grade, Romeo and Juliet, and then I think the first time I ever really started getting more into Shakespeare was in 11th grade. I read Hamlet for an AP class, and I really enjoyed that one a lot, and so that was my first real experience with it. But yeah, those earlier experiences definitely brought me in some level, but they were just not, they were noticeable enough for me to remember they happened, but I didn't really start enjoying Shakespeare until my junior year of high school with Hamlet. Question 2, has the reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears, and what scene was it? I have never been brought to tears while reading a Shakespeare play that I can remember. I maybe got a little bit emotional in Julius Caesar, maybe? I actually don't remember. Yeah, it was a little bit in Julius Caesar, but I didn't get brought to tears. I haven't ever actively cried over a Shakespeare play reading it, at least, but I did get a little bit choked up on that one, so I couldn't tell you the scene though, so sorry. The second part of that question I don't really have an answer to. Are there any people who have played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? Definitely my friend Kariana. She's the one who goes with me to Shakespeare Festival, or at least she has the past 3 years, and even though she's actually probably not as into Shakespeare as me, and when we first started going, it was just because I asked her to go and she was not averse to it enough to be absolutely not, but she's learned to like it more as time has gone on. The other person I actually would say would be Dr. Smith Bernstein, who is the dramaturge for the Utah Shakespeare Festival. Every morning they do a seminar about the plays before, and we always go to that, and she just does a great job of explaining context and historical development of the play and how it's grown in popularity or shifted in popularity over time and what's made the difference and different things about it. And I think she's done a great job of helping me to love Shakespeare more and more and more, for sure. Question 4, is your favorite book or film about Shakespeare? I don't feel like I really have an answer to this. The only book I've really read about Shakespeare is, I guess as far as nonfiction goes, is Death by Shakespeare by Catherine Harkup, I believe is her name. And I did really enjoy that. I read that earlier this year, and it just discussed different ways people die in Shakespeare and the historical context for that. So in some ways it's not really about Shakespeare, but it is at the same time. Anyway, I enjoyed that for sure. I've also read Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell if I'm going a fiction route, but I wasn't as huge of a fan of that as other people were. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of answers. I have books on my shelf right now that I intend to read that have more to do with Shakespeare and about his plays that I have yet to read, so hopefully soon we'll get to it, but for now that's gonna be my answer, I guess. Probably just Death by Shakespeare. Question 5 is there a character that resembles you in Shakespeare's plays? And I had an answer for this and now it's slipping my mind. I don't know, I don't feel like any of them super like resemble me. There's always something about them that I'm like, I mean, they're just can be very over the top, and I'm just not an over the top person, so I don't feel like I connect super well. I think a couple characters that I feel like aspects of their characters remind me of myself, or like I connect with in some way, are Helena from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Desdemona from Othello, just her personality, not her terrible fate, but her personality sometimes in some ways reminds me of myself. Helena sometimes just aspects, I don't want to make it sound all depressed, but just aspects of her situation remind me of some things I've gone through, and so I connected with her. Yeah, we'll just stick with those two, I guess. But I wouldn't say they like super resemble me, but they're the ones I've felt a little more connection to when I've read about them, read their story, or seen it performed. Question 6 is, which play would you want to see performed live and why? I mean, I'm gonna be basic and say I just really want to see Hamlet performed live. There's many I want to see performed live, but I just feel like Hamlet is such a quintessential Shakespeare play that I would love to be able to see it. I actually, though, would say I might want to see Othello more, of the ones I haven't seen. Like, there's plenty I've seen with Shakespeare Festival going on and stuff, so this isn't including, like, I've seen Romeo and Juliet, I've seen King Lear and Richard III and several others, so there's several that I have seen performed live, but I feel like those two, Othello and Hamlet, are two that I'm like really looking forward to seeing at some point. As far as comedies, I would say Much Ado About Nothing, which I'm actually seeing next year. They're performing at the Utah Shakespeare Festival, so I'll see it then, which is very, very exciting. But yeah, that's what I would say. I would say of the ones I've already seen, which one would I like to see, I'm most excited to see performed live again and again? Probably, honestly, The Tempest. I think that's a very interesting one that you can play with a lot, and so I'd be very curious to see how other people do it. I would say either that or A Midsummer Night's Dream, because I just think you can play with both of those a lot and it would be a lot of fun. Question 7 is there an actor, past or present, who you would like to have seen play Hamlet while in his prime? I think I would actually say, I feel like there's several that I wouldn't mind seeing play Hamlet, but I think Dan Stevens, who's Matthew Crawley in Downton Abbey, The Beast, in the live action Beauty and the Beast, I think he would do a really good job with it, and I would have been interested to see him play that. I feel like he still could. He's young enough that I feel like it would still work for him, but definitely when he was even younger, I think he could have done a very interesting Hamlet. So I think I'm gonna go with him, but I don't know, I haven't thought too hard about it, so there may be someone else that I'm like, oh wait, actually them, but I would stick with him for now. Question 8 is to read your favorite speech or soliloquy, and I was almost not going to do it because I couldn't think of any, but as I was like starting to talk about it in this clip, I would have skipped this whole thought process, but I actually remembered one from Romeo and Juliet that's not like amazing, but it is one that when I watched the play, it really stood out to me. And I think it's one that can be forgotten, but I think it can be very applicable to a lot of feelings that are very current. I mean, not that people haven't felt it throughout history, obviously they have, but I think in modern times it's a discussion that comes up a lot. So this is when, I guess spoilers before I go on for Romeo and Juliet, but it's Friar Lawrence and Romeo. Romeo has just killed Tybalt and now he is really struggling and he's actually suicidal about it, and Friar Lawrence, he draws his dagger in his desperation, and Friar Lawrence gives him a little speech to kind of boost him up, and I think it's a well done, intimate kind of speech. So he says, "Hold thy desperate hand. Art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art, thy tears are womanish, thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast, unseemly woman in a seeming man, and ill beseeming beast and seeming both. Thou hast amazed me. By my holy order, I thought thy disposition better tempered. Hast thou slain Tybalt? Wilt thou slay thyself, and slay thy lady that in thy life lives? By doing damned hate upon thyself? Why railest thou on thy birth, the heaven and earth, since birth and heaven and earth all three do meet in thee at once, which thou at once wouldst lose? Fie, fie, thou shamest thy shape, thy love, thy wit, which like a usurer aboundest in all, and usest none in that true use indeed, which thou bedecked thy shape, thy love, thy wit. Thy noble shape is but a form of wax, digressing from the valor of a man, thy dear love sworn but hollow perjury, killing that love which thou hast vowed to cherish. Thy wit, that ornament to shape and love, misshapen in the conduct of them both, like powder in a skilless soldier's flask, is set afire by thine own ignorance. And thou dismembered with thine own defense. What roused thee, man? Thy Juliet is alive, for whose dear sake thou wast but lately dead. There art thou happy. Tybalt would kill thee, but thou slewest Tybalt. There art thou happy. The law that threatened death becomes thy friend, and turns it to exile. There art thou happy. A pack of blessings light upon thy back. Happiness courts thee in her best array, but like a misbehaved and sullen wench, thou pouts upon thy fortune and thy love. Take heed, for such die miserable. Go, get thee to thy love, as was decreed. Ascend her chamber, hence and comfort her. But look thou stay not till the watch be set, for then thou canst not pass to Mantua, where thou shalt live till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, reconcile your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 20,000 times more joy than thou wentst forth in lamentation. Go before, nurse, commend me to thy lady, and bid her hasten all the house to bed, which heavy sorrow makes them apt unto. Romeo is coming. Question 9 is there a play that intimidates you, and why? And I actually don't know. I'm sure there is one. I guess I would say right now the history plays really intimidate me. I have read a few, but for some reason I just worry that I don't have enough context for some of them, which is honestly not that true. Like, I know a good amount about the Wars of the Roses and the lead up to it, and that's what most of the history plays are. But I don't know. I'm like, I enjoy those time periods and those discussions, and so I'm a little worried that I'm gonna get bored, or that I will end up not understanding things as well as I think I should. I don't know. There's just something about them that makes me a little bit nervous. I would say probably of them all that I haven't read or experienced in any way yet is Henry V is probably the most intimidating to me. But I would also say that I've gotten over a lot of my intimidation as the years have gone on, which has been great because then I can just enjoy them and it's wonderful. Question 10 is tips for intimidated readers who are first-time readers of Shakespeare. I would just say don't be afraid to ask for help and take it slow. And I would also say definitely seek out, if you can't seek out a performance online, listen to it on audiobook with a full cast audiobook, because it's as close as you can get sometimes to a real performance. LibriVox has a lot of these. They're not amazing, like the actors themselves are all reading them separately, and so their intonations and things don't necessarily work together all that well, but it still makes it a lot easier to understand what's going on based on their inflections. And I don't know, I'm also an Audible learner, so maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's easier for me to understand it when I hear it being said out loud. But the best definitely is if you can see a performance where they're actually performing together. That's much better than reading it, frankly, and you don't need to feel bad about not wanting to physically read them. Just watch them if you can. They're easier to understand that way, and honestly, in many ways, more entertaining to experience that way. So definitely that is my main suggestion. And question 11 is your favorite play by Shakespeare and why? In the past, it's been Richard III because it just hits very close to home, and I would say it's still up there. But I also really loved seeing Romeo and Juliet perform and A Midsummer Night's Dream. But I think I would still say Richard III is my number one, and my favorite comedy is Much Ado About Nothing. But my favorite experience watching a play thus far was probably either Midsummer Night's Dream or Romeo and Juliet. Well, I don't know, King Lear was good too. I'm just gonna stick with Richard III. I don't know, I feel like they all just hit on different marks and I like them all for different reasons. So I'm not going to tag anybody because I don't know who's already done this or is planning on doing it because they've been tagged already. So if you're watching this and you want to do it, please consider yourself tagged and make sure you let me know that you've done it because I would love love to see it. Let me know down below some of your answers to these questions. I would love to know, especially what your favorite Shakespeare play is. I would love to know, and also what have been some of the most memorable parts of your journey with Shakespeare. I would love to know that as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!